Hi everyone, welcome to Metamind Neet crash course program. So this is Srikar and I will be teaching you physics for next coming 30 days for your crash course. So in this regard I want to let you know the content and details what we are doing coming days. So to have an overview, let us start. So basically we are starting with the first year physics, and in that we are going with physical world and measurement. As you know, things what are there inside this physical world and measurement, we will be discussing something related to measurements, units, dimensions, and next we are discussing things related to errors after the dimensional analysis. After that we will be dealing also the concept of measuring devices, so called vernier caliper and screw gauge. Coming to the next chapter, it is kinematics, basically known to have two branches. One, it is motion in 1D and 2D. Precisely speaking, we will be discussing here about the linear motion, that is motion in straight line, and after that we will be having some vector analysis, because when we are dealing with the second part, that is kinematics 2D, we need the dimensional analysis. For that we will be taking vector analysis, and after that we will get into the motion in plane. There we discuss conditions related to 2D motion. Also we add some part of 3-dimensional motion, and we will be discussing projectiles and their conditions. Coming to the motion in plane, we also add up circular motion. We don't discuss it separately, we discuss in motion in 2D, saying that circular motion we discuss the kinematics, whatever it is, like formulas we are developing when a particle is moving in circular path, conditions for linear and angular motion, and connecting the linear and angular variables like angular velocity, linear velocity with respect to radius, how it is like functioning. Coming to the third one, here we discuss dynamics. So earlier we were discussing kinematics, which is like a body is moving, and we have understood the motion. Now we are like trying to find the reason behind the motion, how it is moving, why it is moving. Here we discuss Newton's laws, all three laws, along with momentum and conditions, constraint relations and equilibrium conditions. Thereafter we will get into the frictional part. Friction means the opposing force that is encountered only when the object is moving. There is relative motion between the surfaces, right? Now coming to the third category, we will be discussing dynamics of circular motion. In kinematics we have dealt kinematics. Now we are dealing with dynamics. So in dynamics, what we will do, why a particle is moving in circle, what is the driving force, how it is moving, how it is maintained in circular path, to what extent it will be in circular path, conditions, all these things will be discussed in dynamics. Coming to work energy and power. So all the way we have got the clarity, saying that body is moving, why it is moving. So in time frame, in displacement frame, we have understood the motion. Now coming to this category, this particular chapter we will be discussing energies. What is the energy with which it is moving, or which it is placed at some location, and which is like being producing the energy, how it is being produced. These things we will be discussing over here. Here we also come to a conclusion, saying that what kind of force is producing what kind of energy, and how force and energies are related. Precisely speaking, work energy theorem or some other aspect. And coming to differentiate the forces, we have force concept in dynamics, but we never tell what kind of force it is. But basically we have two kinds of force, one it is conservative, non-conservative conditions. Everything will be dealt in this part. Now coming to the second part of this particular wing is motion in vertical circle. So basically we have studied dynamics of circular motion in the past chapter, but now coming to this particular wing, we will be discussing vertical circular motion where energy constraints are involved. So basically we are trying to develop the condition for particle to be in circle to complete the vertical complete circular motion. What is happening if it is less or greater kind of conditions. The third category is collisions. Basically collisions, we need momentum concept that we have dealt already in dynamics. Now we will be using the extra additional part of dynamics in collisions, and further we link up dynamics and this work energy theorem based on the idea of collision, how collision is taking place, what are the parameters involved, types of collisions, and when collision is happening, what is happening actually. So we will be discussing here. Now coming to the other wing, system of particles. So basically we have done moving object or particle related to complete motion we have done. Now coming to here, for a system, if it is having particles, not a single one, then we try to figure out, we try to understand each and every particle separately, but the concept of center of mass make you understand the whole particle as a one particle system. How we make and how to deal that thing, we will be discussing in center of mass concept. There we will be discussing addition, conservation of momentum, frame of reference, motion of center of mass. All these concepts and ideas will be dealt in the first part of system of particles. Now coming to the second one, in rotational motion. Rotational motion, till now we have told the particle is moving in some direction and some the way. Now coming to rotational motion, now the particles are moving around some particular axis of rotation we call it as. So how it is moving, what is driving to move it in some particular rotational motion, and how parameters are involved in the rotational motion, all these things we will be discussing in rotational motion. Now coming to the last part of rotational motion, conservation of linear and rotational momentum. Basically second law describes the rate of change of momentum as force. In coming to rotational mechanics, the second law is modified and it is defined as rate of change of angular momentum as torque. So there is a slight difference between linear and angular. That slight difference we will be able to figure out in the coming lecture when it is dealt. Now the third part is moment of inertia. That means any particle in the system always try to be in its way. It will never try to change its position or something. So when you are trying to change it, there will be inbuilt inertia which is opposing. That inertia, if it is happening in rotation, we call it as moment of inertia, and there we will be developing certain ideas and equations and theorems in the last part of this system of particles. Now this one is gravitation. Here only basically we have two ideas, one it is laws of gravitation and energy in gravitation. Laws of gravitation, we will be discussing Newton's gravitational law, gravitational field, energies, work done, potential energies and conservation of energies. And the second we will be discussing gravitational potential energy, velocities in orbit, and after that escape velocity and Kepler laws, everything. Now coming to the next chapter, unit 7, the properties of matter. So properties of matter is being dealt in two ways. One, it is elasticity, viscosity and surface tension. Elasticity means whenever we are under some force, external stress, how the body is deforming or how it is acting, those things will be dealt here. And coming to viscosity, viscosity is nothing but it is the inertia of any fluid when it is in dynamics, like fluid moving inside a pipe or else a boat moving in a fluid, there will be certain kind of opposing nature of surfaces that we discuss in the concept of viscosity. Now coming to the surface tension. Here in surface tension we will be discussing the unbalanced particles over the surface of any fluid. Say for example, if fluid is there, the surface molecules are unbalanced because the beneath are under the contact with these molecules, the rest of the particles, but the surface part is completely exposed to air or other atmosphere. So therefore these unbalanced surface molecules will exhibit some kind of instability, and because of that instability certain things are happening. Those will be discussed through the concept of surface tension, and every detail will be given very properly during the lecture. So now coming to this, the other part of properties of matter are, here we will be discussing Thermal effects. Thermal effects means, first in the beginning we will give the introduction for thermal temperature, hotness and coldness. Thereafter, when temperature is rising or falling, how body is changing, deforming, expansion or contraction, whatever it is. And thereafter, when energy is given, say for example, if a body is given continuously energy, how its state is changing, say for example from solid to liquid, liquid to gas, how this transition is taking place and what is happening inside this mechanism, everything is dealt in the calorimetry. And coming to the second part, it is heat transfer. Say suppose one end of a body or substance is having different temperature. If a body has two ends and if they are having two different temperatures, then heat transfer takes place through the body. So how it is taking place, why it is taking place, what rate it is taking place, and what are the ways are there for a particle to transfer the heat, and how it is transferred, all these categories and things will be discussed in heat transfer concept. Basically heat transfer takes place in three ways. One, it is, as you know, conduction, second it is convection, and third it is radiation. Everything will be dealt in a clear note. And after that, the thermodynamics, the most important segment for any entrance exam, most precisely speaking. So in thermodynamics we will be discussing concepts related to heat, work and internal energy, and laws of thermodynamics, say that first law, second law, everything. And there we will be discussing the concept of different process, how the gas is being dealt, everything will be discussed in thermodynamics. Whereas in second law we will be discussing entropy, reversible and irreversible process, everything. Coming to the KTG, kinetic theory of gases, the last one of this total first year concept. Here we will be discussing gas laws, and after that we will be discussing about the limitations of gas laws and how we can say that ideal gas are ideal, and what are the parameters involving totally when we discuss the gas system. Everything will be dealt in this particular wing. Here only we will be discussing the concept of degree of freedom and how a gas system is having or possessing energy. All this stuff we will be discussing here, and after this we will be starting second year. Thank you.